Hi. You know, since we're all still pretty new here, let me bring you up to speed real quick. This is a 31 Ford Model A. This is a pile of Z06 Corvette parts. This is a Honda K24. My name's Nate, and this is the M Word. You guys remember this thing, right? Cool. Okay, so, for this exciting episode, what I'd like to do is kind of take a few minutes and talk about why. But actually, more importantly, I really want to talk about how. Like, how did we get to this, of all things? You might be surprised to find out, actually I'm still kind of surprised by the whole thing, that up until about this summer, I would have figured any Model A I ever made would have looked way more like this than like this. That there is pure hell. That's a AA fuel altered, based on a 32 Austin Bantam, and probably one of my all-time favorite death machines.
Groovy.
You're goddamn right.
So that's what I was all set to do. Some coilover Mustang struts out in the breeze, probably a big Chevy, some skinny front runners, a back half with a 4-link, some big old fat boys out back, probably a flaked chopper tank up front in the grill, a little off the top, and away you go. Maybe a little bit more race car influence than you'd find in your average Model A, but nothing crazy. Pretty much just apply the formula. And that was that. That was my plan, and I was pretty content with that. You know, whatever else happens, I've got that sofa problem handled. And then this f***ing guy had to show up in my timeline and just ruin everything.
Alright, so we're in it now. If you've seen it on Instagram, you already know, but if not, this is my new project, a 1981 Ferrari 308 GTBi in fly yellow. Yeah, it's a little ostentatious, but why not?
Why not indeed, sir? And that, as they say, was that. Down the rabbit hole we go, and I mean, how could you not? 130 plus videos of building a K-swap Ferrari? Yeah, buddy, sign me up. I'm entranced. I'm enchanted, ensorcelled, bewitched. I'm like that one M-word mouse when he smells a pie cooling on a windowsill, and little smell fingers come over and punch him in the face and drag him along, and he's just powerless to resist. It's a lot like that, except instead of delicious fruit filling and a flaky, buttery crust, I've got myself all wound up over a 4-cylinder Honda motor in a butter yellow Ferrari. So up until this point, I had no interest in Honda anything, except their downhill bike. I never had a Civic with a spoon motor. Man, I never even been to Harry's, let alone for a T66 with NOS, and I wouldn't know a Motec system exhaust if I tripped over it. The only thing I knew about Honda guys is it seemed to me that they really liked their similes. I heard of a lot of likes, and, you know, this 180 horsepower 1.8 liter is just like a 500 horsepower 5 liter because it makes the same horsepower per liter. Trust me, bro, or something. And I'll admit, I never really paid it a lot of attention. Wasn't really my thing. You know, there's a butt for every seat and all, and that's fine, but, you know, this wasn't the particular seat for my particular butt. And that's cool. I never really had an animosity about import stuff. It just never really blew my skirt up. But then I started listening. And there are guys all over the place taking these little 4-bangers out of commuter cars and ringing them out past 8,000 RPM and making 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 horsepower on factory Honda parts. There's guys pushing over 4-digit horsepower on factory cranks and stuff and heads. It's absolutely insane. I don't mean like 500 horsepower, but legit 5, 6, 700 horsepower. And they're doing it on a single 62mm turbo, making it look easy. Well, I am paying attention now. Okay, so K-motors are very super cool. Let's put a pin in that for a minute, but we will come back around to it very shortly, I promise. I've just been racking my hamster brain for days now trying to figure out a funny segue into how this became a handling car. And try as I might and think as hard as I possibly can, I just don't know. I sit here now and it's like, well, yeah, obviously that's exactly the way that car should be built. To build it any other way would be stupid. But I don't know how I got here. I mean, I'm sure the fact that my favorite yellow Ferrari was running Corvette suspension had a little bit to do with it. And I was getting up real early in the morning, so I might have been more open to suggestion than usual, but I mean, I'm still not sure. But the next thing I know, I'm looking at used C5 Corvette parts. You know, maybe I want to be like Mike and get these really cool uprights and build some cool tubular control arms for them. Spoken as a guy who's never in my life built control arms for anything, but oh yeah, I'll just whip up some control arms, he says. Hey, but wait a minute. Don't Corvettes come with those really cool looking cast aluminum upper and lower control arms? Yeah, they do. And it's starting to look like C5 Corvette parts, like other things, are more affordable the more of them you buy at one time. Like it seems more affordable to buy assemblies than it does buy individual parts. Well, that is interesting. I think that means if a guy played his cards right and was kind of patient and looked around enough, he could probably end up with some 21st century bleeding edge General Motors sports car technology for about the same price as the front end out of a 50-year-old Ford. And I've got nothing against the Mustang II. I've used a bunch of them in the past. I will use them in the future. They're great. They're convenient. They just work. They're fantastic. But if someone were to ask, which do you think is a better handling car, a 2003 Z06 Corvette or a 1974 Mustang II, I just don't think there's a whole lot of contest there. The thing that I think really sold me on that whole situation is that whole front and rear cradle. What was that, handsome young man? I can't hear what you're saying. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Hang on. And here we go. There we go. Okay, cool. Good, excellent. Question, are you planning on wrapping this up anytime now? I mean, it's my car and I'm already getting bored listening to this. Anything? Yeah, I was. I just thought I owed it to the people, or at least it would be nice to kind of explain what it was we were doing here and why. I just thought that would be kind of a nice thing to... Oh, I get that, and that's fine, but you understand we don't have to answer every question today, right? Like, we're gonna be here for a while. There will be opportunities to answer each and every one of these questions, probably again and again and again. We don't need to do all of it right now. Well, I mean, I suppose that's a valid point, but I don't really see what the problem is in just trying to be thorough. I'm just trying to, make sure everyone knows where we're at before we... Anybody ever tell you talk too much? Yeah, all the time. Let's just get rid of that. People are constantly... Shall we? And we'll go ahead and... Huh? Look at that. Movie magic. Anyway, sorry to jump in like this. I know it's incredibly rude of me, but if I had to sit in that chair and listen to me for any longer, I'm gonna... Well, look, it's not gonna be good. So let's just see if we can't speed things up and still retain... Let me explain what it is we're doing. So overall, the umbrella statement of this project should be simple, not easy, right? Simple. Simple. I've got Corvette parts here that much smarter guys than me have figured out how to put together and how to make work. I need to make sure that they are a certain distance apart, square to each other, and then tie them together with tubing. I mean, that sounds fairly simple. My steering is handled, my front suspension is handled, all of my brakes are managed, my rear suspension situation is handled, rear brakes are done. I've got to land the control arms and the shocks. And that's that, but I'm building the frame so I can land those wherever. Fairly simple. Not easy, but simple. We're going to take all of that and put in this really lightweight, I mentioned this thing weighs about 310 pounds as assembled. Put in this lightweight, high revving little 4-cylinder motor way behind the front axle, so you got great front to rear balance in theory. I think the whole motor weighs about what this rear cradle does, so it should be nicely balanced fore and aft. All of these really neat sports car parts become supercar parts when you take 1,000 pounds off the weight they were designed to stop. Right? It's just like Gandhi said, keep it simple and add lightness. That's all we're trying to do. Keep it simple. I'm using parts I know that work, that have huge aftermarket support, that people have been into for years. They know how to make them go fast. They know how to make them last. They know how to blow them up and how to avoid that. So I'm not doing anything fantastic here. I'm not breaking any new ground. I'm not discovering new planets. We're not doing any of that. Fairly simple. I just think it should go together in a way It's going to be very exciting, and it should be a blast to drive because it should weigh nothing, make a bunch of power, rev really high, but you should be able to, you know, brake real late and dive real deep into corners, and it should handle like a shopping cart or a vet cart, some kind of cart. Anyway, again, sorry for interrupting, but my goodness, just that was dragging on forever and ever. Please join us next time where we actually start taking this thing apart. I promise, we'll talk so much less. More working, less talking. If you're inclined, do the things. If you don't want to do the things, I get that. I don't do the things, it's cool. Just come back and check it out next time because we actually start turning wrenches and taking some stuff apart, and we're actually gonna build a car on this car building channel. Mark my words. Thanks for watching. Next time.